excited because we're getting ready for our next thought leader panel, the very first of this event, with three titans, three real remarkable leaders: Sara Davison, Dr. Lancaster, and Dr. Yasmine. And I'm real excited because what we know about all three of these individuals is that all three of them have been making a global impact for quite some time. And they themselves are thought leaders in their own right. So I'm real excited in a few minutes to bring them on the air and bring them with us so they can discuss with us what winning means for them and the impact that they're making around the world. And I'm excited, Dr. Natalie and Rex. We're going to bring them up in just a couple moments, give them each the floor, and then I will step back and have the two of you have a free-flowing conversation with these three remarkable souls. And with that, let's go ahead and pull them on the air. Dr. Lancaster, Sara Davison, and Dr. Yasmine, welcome. We're going to start by giving each of you a solo view to share a little bit about the impact that you guys are making currently in the world. We all know that you are all leaders in your own right. And we're going to start with Dr. Yasmine. You're going to have the solo floor to give a brief intro to your work, as well as the impact that you're making around the world. So Dr. Yasmine, let's start with you. The floor is yours, please. Dr. Yasmine.
Thank you so much, Mo. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Dr. Yasmine Saad. I'm an award-winning psychologist. And my mission is to empower you to have a positive perspective on life by connecting you to the essence of who you are. I believe that everything that happens, whether it be in your mind, in your thoughts, in your emotion, in your life, is here to propel you to your next greatness. And it's just a matter of decoding the messages. So my mission is to help people move forward in their path, on their path, so that they can achieve their own greatness. So with that, I built a group practice with a lot of psychologists who integrate the way I work, which I have a concept about uncovering, untangling, and who you are. And so it's my uncovering, connecting, and entangling. And this is my you, see you, the essence of you. And my mission is to connect you, to the core of you, and show you that all your thoughts, whether it be negative or positive, are here to bring you to the next step. So this is who I am. And as you can see, I'm writing a book with Les Brown and J.B. Owen about igniting the hunger in you. I'm Dr. Yasmine, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yasmine, and let's give the floor to Dr. Lancaster, who's going to share with us what he's proudest of with his work on impacting the planet. Dr. Lancaster, please, the floor is yours.
Hello there. Well, I am the founder of Gnostic Pneumatherapy, which is a psycho-spiritual path work of self-discovery, kind of somewhat similar to what Dr. Yasmine was talking about, so I appreciate her. And also in relationship to what Les and Dennis were talking about, it's about the solution, right? To answer the question, who am I, which is the solution. So there's lots of self-discovery that needs to be made, as I've been writing about over the last 14 years through Gnostic Pneumatherapy. And that is basically a tradition of the Gnostics and Carl Jung combined, where those thoughts have helped people over many years, as well as my own, to help people discover who they are through dreams, visions, synchronicities, aha experiences, and much more, in order to derive that wholeness. And what is the root of the word wholeness? Holy, health, wholeness, versus being fragmented like shattered glass. Ouch, greed, lust, anger, pride, excessiveness, impulsivity, which is obviously what the planet is struggling from. And therefore, we need to come back to a wholeness, a oneness, a balance, in order to have freedom from suffering, not only towards ourselves, but towards other people as well at large. And through that wholeness, we become more like the Buddha or the Christ, as well as other masters who have a consciousness, which we need to have as well, in order to know who we are in our essence, as others have been speaking about today, which I highly thank. And therefore, we can do this work as a society, individually, in order to fulfill our life's purpose, as Carl Jung said, which is to be conscious, which is to be aware. That is the purpose of your life. And when we do that work, thus we can give what we have, which is that light within in radiance, right? Get out of your own way to allow your own divine radiance to shine through, as Aldous Huxley said. And therefore, we become a new norm, a new normal in this planet. But it takes one person at a time to be willing to do that individual work, so that one person at a time we can heal. All in all, thank you, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Wow, we got Aldous Huxley, Carl Jung, and Jesus Christ. This is going to be a powerful conversation. Let me grab my pencil and notepad, because this is going to be incredible. And with that, last but not least, Sara Davison, let's start by you sharing what you're proudest of, because we know that all three of you are making a global impact. And the first question is, what are you proudest of with your work that you're accomplishing around the planet? Sara Davison, please, the floor is yours. You are muted. We'd love to have you unmute yourself so we can give you the floor. Sara Davison, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I mean, this is such an incredible event to be part of, and some amazing people. And just listening to Dr. Yasmine and Dr. Joseph, they're so inspiring. I'm so proud to be on the panel with them. So my name is Sara Davison. I'm best known as the divorce coach. And I guess, my job is to help people cope better with both the emotional roller coaster but also the practical challenges that we all face when we go through any kind of breakup. So whether that's heartbreak, whether that's divorce, it covers the whole thing. And you asked me what I'm most proud of, and I guess the reason I do this work is because my divorce hit me like a freight train. I didn't see it coming, and it completely devastated my whole world. I was doing all that ugly crying on the bathroom floor and thinking, gosh, I'm a coach. At that point, I've been coaching for 15 years. And I thought, wow, if it's affecting me like this, and it is known as the second most traumatic life experience we go through, by the way, breakup or divorce after death of a loved one. So it is traumatic. So I was thinking, well, I know as a coach I can get through this, but I need to make some serious changes. So I did. I basically combined my 15 years of coaching at that point and all the skills that I had as a coach with my breakup and divorce experience too, to create a program to get me through the breakup. But also that's now what I share with thousands of people around the world to help them cope better too. So I guess really that's what I'm proudest of, is turning something that was such a traumatic life event for me into something that now helps other people cope better. And, whilst I have a coaching clinic and coach many, many people around the world, I also now am the founder of the International Divorce Coach Center of Excellence, where we have over 200 coaches in 16 different countries around the world who I train to become breakup and divorce coaches too. So we can go out and help as many people as possible around the world. So yeah, super proud of that.
Thank you for that, Sara. And wow, we're getting a little crowded in here, but don't worry, I'm going to step off in a couple minutes. Every single panelist here, every single thought leader that's here is going to have an opportunity to have a solo view at the end to share your closing thoughts. But before we do that, we're going to have a natural, free-flowing dialogue, because all three of you are so incredible. I mean, like I said, Dr. Lancaster just blew me away. He cited Jesus Christ, Aldous Huxley, and Carl Jung in about 4 minutes. That was remarkable, Dr. Lancaster. And I know the audience is excited to hear this powerful conversation. So I'm going to step back. I think Adora is going to also chime in, but we're also going to ask Dr. Forrest and Rex to moderate this. And it's going to be a natural conversation with three masters. With that being said, let's go ahead and step back. And the first question, of course, is what is winning, right? The first question is, what is winning? So let's start with you, Dr. Lancaster, and then Natalie and Rex will naturally keep it going with Adora. Dr. Lancaster, please, get the ball rolling.
Wow, there's so many ways to answer this. Mindfulness, the presence, that is winning. After all, it can't be God, right? So that presence is definitely a winning attribute to have in life. Many times when I think of winning, I think of, as the Buddha said, the two poisons in life is desire and fear. Or even in Western culture, when you're dealing with being a knight in shining armor who's killing off your own dragon, which has scales, desire and fear. So you're trying to kill off your own lower self in order to experience your higher self of being. That is winning. We can go to Dante, the Inferno. Right? We have to lose before we win. Going through the Inferno, but you need to know when the visiting hours are over, so that way you can experience purgatorio, refinement, and therefore go into paradiso, which is a higher level of consciousness, a heavenly consciousness of being. When you have that, because you've done the necessary work, inner work, then you will have that natural organic consciousness that will come alive no matter what you're experiencing in life, whatever challenges or hurts or pains. We need that to save us from the darkness and therefore to be enlightened like the Mahatma Buddha, and therefore you will be a light in the world, and people will feed off of that because we can't help it. We always feed off of people and relationships. And so we want to have this, obviously, in order to be a wise planet, not the opposite. Thank you.
And Dr. Natalie, you are muted, my dear. Let's go ahead and unmute you.
Of course I am. Of course I am. That was the word of 2021, right? Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Lancaster. I loved how you also went to the work, because that is something that a lot of people don't necessarily see. I wonder if, in your opinion, and Dr. Jasmine and Miss Davison, if you believe that failure is necessary. And so, because failure, if I understood you correctly, means that from that you grow. Now, breakup might be seen as a failure in society. A divorce might be seen as a failure in society. So may I ask you, Ms. Davison, do we need to have a breakup in order to win, or what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, that's a great question. And you're so right, because a lot of people see breakup and divorce as a massive failure. I think it does have quite a lot of stigma still in society, even though I'm working really hard, guys, to change that. But I do think that embracing when things don't go as you planned is super important. It comes back to what Dr. Lancaster was saying about, you learn so much from the adversity, and you can grow through it. And I think it's really very much how you approach it, because you could approach a breakup or a divorce as the end of your life. Everything is, too overwhelming. No one will ever love you again. What's wrong with me syndrome? Those sort of hamster wheel questions, I call them, that keep you stuck. Why don't they love me anymore? What's wrong with me? And those things could be seen, I guess, as a failure. However, if you can flip that and learn the lessons, this is kind of like doing the work that was mentioned by Dr. Lancaster there. Do the work, learn the lessons. What was wrong with that relationship that didn't serve you, that didn't enable that to be a fulfilling relationship or result in success, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. So, learning from that and growing through that adversity, knowing that, everything happens for a reason. And if you can learn from that, you will become stronger and become who you were meant to be. And for me, that's a lot about winning. So, yeah, absolutely. Great question.
I would ask a follow-up question to that, and that is, what is one tiny step that someone can do to bring that awareness to the situation if they're going through it right now and they're feeling that they failed, or that they're upset about the circumstances? How can they go from this sucks to I can learn from it, or I can win through it?
Oh, that's another great question. So, there's so many things that you can do. But I think, first of all, having the faith that you can get through it is the first stage. Not even having to know the how, but just having the faith that you will get through it. And then, surrounding yourself with people who are going to be able to help you get through that, navigate that. I call it your breakup support team, making sure if there's any area that you're worried about, whether that's finances or maybe you need somebody to help you with the legal process, that every area that you're concerned about, you're not stuffing it down and going, oh, no, don't want to look there. I'm just going to have another glass of wine or eat some more chocolate. You're sort of going, no, I'm going to face those things. I'm going to call the experts in that field. I'm going to get the help, because that clarity will give you power. That clarity gives you power, because then even if you don't like what you find, right, even if your finances, there's a huge hole in them, you can put a plan together then to do something about it. So not being afraid to find out the answers and putting that plan together, I think it's really a good place to start.
Wonderful. And I like to sort of throw it a little bit in a curveball at Dr. Jasmine, because I'm wondering if in that process of the breakup, as an example, where you say, we're breaking up, we're trying to figure out clarity and all of that, does that then bring us back to our essence, and therefore it is a win? And I want to throw this over to Dr. Jasmine, because you so eloquently started out by talking about bringing people back to the essence of who you are. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much, Dr. Natalie. I don't know if you see me, but I have a little bit delay on my end, so hopefully you hear me well. Good, wonderful. So basically for me, it's like everything that happens for you, to you in your life. So basically, if you're facing some adversity, the idea is, what are you feeling internally? What is it stimulating in you? If it's stimulating frustration, if it's stimulating like a feeling of failure, that means, what does it mean about the essence of you? The essence of you is that you want to be winning. So how can you be winning? How can you transform this failure into a win? Because that's the essence of you. That's why you're experiencing it as a failure. So the next step is to think about, what do you need to think about or experience so that this can be a win? So if, for example, let's say divorce coach Miss Davison. So if somebody has a divorce and they experience it as a failure, it's because they want a smooth relationship. So this is here to prepare you for your future. So how in the future can you go ahead? What can you learn to have smooth relationship? The essence of you wants harmony in relationship. This is the essence of you. That's why you're so bothered by it. Go back to who you are. And therefore, you will find your way, and you will grow, and you'll achieve more, and you will win.
Okay. I see Rex nodding, but I want to go take this right to Dr. Lancaster, because you were just talking about winning and, using the failure. So do we really have to go all the way down in order to come out? Does that connect us to our essence? And do we find the answers? And I don't mean this jokingly, because I do know a little bit about dreams. But do we possibly find our answers in the dreams that we think we don't remember?
Wow. I was just thinking about that. That kind of takes the words right out of my mouth. That's awesome. Okay, so think about the yin yang. The yin yang is a symbol of truths everywhere. You're a yin yang, I'm a yin yang. A relationship could be a yin yang, as Joseph Campbell has said, is a symbol of a perfect marriage. Okay, so we're talking about being soulmates here. I'm in you, you're in me. That's very important. But even in a dark part of a relationship, if we're using that as an example, as the old saying goes, the deeper we go into the darkness, the brighter the light will shine. Now, in relationship to what a lot of the panelists are saying here, just as well, we can look at a dream as a means to an end, right? So to speak. So through the dream, that might be one way, whether you're having a troubled marriage or some other kind of relationship difficulty, or just even at the planet at large. Follow your dreams, because your dreams are a mirror, just like visions, aha experiences, synchronicities, mythologies, stories of revelation, ritual. There's many different ways that the divine tries to give us ways to become conscious, as I was saying earlier, in order to be a winner in life, okay? In order to not let your lower self conquer you, your higher self rules. You're a winner. So dreams is one of the many ways where, by loving grace of the divine, we have opportunities to do the necessary work to gain a new knowledge about ourselves that we did not have before, and thus we become the winner. Did I answer your question?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Rex, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to go back and just recap, because that was wonderful, by the way. Between the three, 5 words, 6 words at the most, what winning means to each of you. Because I have a question I want to go back and ask Sarah about it, and then open it up. So, Dr. Yasmine, what is winning? Just encapsulate it very briefly. I mean, you've spoken elegantly on it before, but now, what does winning mean?
So winning means walking on your path. So you need 3 steps, in my opinion, to have that. Do you want my 3 steps?
Well, yeah, I just wanted 6 words, but yes, go for it. That's fantastic.
It's 6 words. It's my 3 steps are 6 words: awareness, clarity, and knowing who you are. Those 3 steps are essential to winning.
Beautiful. I'm glad I didn't cut you off. Thank you so much. And Dr. Joseph?
6 words, you say? Okay.
I'm just trying to keep it very concise here. Yeah.
Yeah, consciousness, which in the same is awareness, doing the inner work, gaining a new knowledge about yourself, a gnosis.
Excellent. Thank you. And Sarah.
Okay.
And then I have a question for you.
Okay, great. Winning to me is being free to be yourself.
So, sometimes when we think about breakup or failure in marriage, we there may be the assumption that we're at the receiving end of this. Somebody who's doing the breaking up or leaving us. But what about the person who's doing the leaving? How do they win and respectfully leave in a loving way so that both people get to win?
That's a great question, actually, and it's so important because, Gwyneth Paltrow, who comes from across the pond from me, but with you guys, she brought us conscious uncoupling, right? So everyone can separate amicably and be good friends with your ex, and she even goes on holiday with her ex, with their kids. So, that's fantastic. And ideally, we would all be able to separate in that way. However, it's not always possible. And, I did coin the phrase aggressively severing, which tends to be most of my clients, unfortunately. However, Rex, if you are the person that is leaving, you do not have to leave and make it very difficult. The other person might be heartbroken. They might be not wanting you to go. But there are things you can do to set it up to look after that person. For example, I've got a client at the moment. Her husband has always relied on her to create the social life for them. So she always organizes everything. So what she's done to make it a little bit easier for him is she's spoken to some of his close friends, and they know now to step up and to invite him out a little bit more. I've got another couple that actually stayed together for 6 months. She was teaching him how to use the washing machine, I know, but they were in their 60s, to use the washing machine and to cook some of his favorite foods. And he was teaching her how to drive the car outside of their local town, because she'd never done that before, and to do online banking. So they stayed together, which meant that they both left having some extra skills. So it wasn't so difficult, it wasn't so hard, and they managed to stay a lot more amicable that way. So it is possible to do, but obviously you both have to be committed to that. If you're coming out of a slightly toxic relationship, that's not always possible.
Oh, so in that sense, you're really talking about a win-win, right? And I think this is partially what this whole event is about. The new psychology of winning. How do we all win? Do we really have to fail? Does failure really mean failure, or is it actually a win? And so I'd like to go back to Dr. Yasmine, especially after you just eloquently gave us a couple of examples there, Ms. Davison. But Dr. Yasmine, you work also as a psychologist, and you have your own program. How does it work for you when you work with people? And some of them it's about communication. It's about inner communication winning. How do we find our essence, inner communication, and walk away as winners?
Yes, thank you so much, Natalie, for that wonderful question. First, you have to see what is your impetus. Let's think about a relationship. Is it to break up amicably? And therefore, your essence is about bridging, is about loving, is about staying. Your essence is about a loving word. Or is it that you want to separate aggressively? because you are about compartmentalizing, pushing away, and that is more your way of protecting, your way of creating your own space. So the way we get to the essence is by analyzing what are your emotion, what are your thoughts, and what are they a translation of. So I'll give you a totally different example. An example on a thought about I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That thought is a translation into a problem of desiring better for yourself. So getting to the essence of who you are is you are someone who desires more for yourself. Your essence is one of growth, but your mind translates everything into a problem. So it's not going to tell you you desire more, go for it, push you. Your mind is going to be, what's wrong with you? Like, it's going to give you a kick in the butt. It's going to tell you you're not good enough so that you push forward. So for a lot of people, it's deconstructing what their thoughts are telling them to get to the essence of who they are, to understand the path. And so it goes back to your question, is failure essential for winning? My answer is no. There's really two ways. You can win over winning. But for a lot of people, winning is through mistake and failure and learning through those. But this is not the only way. So I just wanted to say that.
It's not the only way. Okay, Rex, I see.
Well, I would ask Dr. Joseph to piggyback on that and talk about the fact that there isn't really failure. There really only is winning when you think about it. How do you help people, or how should people begin to think about themselves in terms of winning versus losing?
Well, in relation to what you're asking, as well as earlier conversation, what I've been burning to say is a life example that I've had myself. Can I share?
Sure.
Okay. So going back to that yin-yang example before, okay? That represents maybe a soulmate relationship. And long, long ago, I had an old soulmate of mine that we surprisingly broke up despite our psycho-spiritual deep connection with one another. And in that breakup, what was important was she and I were mature enough, unlike being childlike, oh no, I gotta have you no matter what, or like a codependency kind of thing. It was quite the opposite, where she and I were mature enough to express to each other very deeply from the heart that because I love you, that's why I'm letting you go in your best interest. Yes, and because I love you so much as well, that's why I'm letting you go as well in your best interest without me. So I think that's a win right there for both people, despite the circumstances. And thus, I still feel that she's influential in my life, and vice versa. I'm sure she feels the same. Because we're very grateful that we had that short time of experience together as a couple, but it was so deep and touching that we are still learning from each other, and that's a wonderful blessing.
Ooh, can I chime in here real quick, Rex?
Absolutely.
Because this just reminded me of something. I love that example that you just gave, Dr. Joseph, because sometimes we leave another person, not to leave them, but because we know it's best for them and for us, as long as it's love. Now, since we've got Miss Davison, the divorce coach, and Dr. Jasmine, also about essence, when you know your essence is growth, quoting Dr. Jasmine, and when you know, quoting Dr. Joseph, it's best to separate. What if the other person doesn't see it like that? How do you win in that situation? I'm going to throw this one at Miss Davison for a second.
Well, in an ideal world, then nobody would suffer any pain or trauma. But unfortunately, sometimes it is going to be very painful. But we are not responsible for other people. We can care, we can be empathetic, we can be considerate, but it is not our responsibility to stay with somebody if we are unhappy. And ultimately, I think it's a shift in thinking to, if I don't really love that person, if I can't give them that true loving relationship, then it's the right thing to do for me to set you free, but it's also the best thing for you. because I can never truly give you that relationship that you deserve, because everybody deserves to have the opportunity to be loved fully and, you know, unconditional love. So I don't, you know, it would be lovely if we could avoid the pain. And I know, you know, most of us don't want to cause any pain ever, but actually, you know, to give them the chance to go off and find somebody else. And as I said before, setting it up so it's not as difficult. If there are areas you know they're going to struggle with, then there's lots of practical things you can do to help them through that. And, you know, not going for the things that are going to scare them in the divorce. I see so many people going for money and going for the children access and, you know, the frightening letters by lawyers. You don't need to do it that way. You know, there are other ways you can do it. And communication is going to be key, and finding the right time and the right tone to communicate that. As long as it's a healthy relationship, I have to caveat that, because, you know, if you're in a toxic relationship, then these rules unfortunately don't really apply. You are probably going to get sucked into that toxic vortex, whether you like it or not. But if it is a healthy relationship, then communication and just maybe sometimes biting your tongue, taking a deep breath, leaving the situation and coming back is the best way to support the other person through that.
Can I chime in on this?
Oh, please do. Yes.
I love this, and I would add that basically what you experience is very much related to what you think. So if you think that relationship are either or, meaning I take care of me and it's at your cost, you will look at it in that sense. But if you believe that my well-being is your well-being, then you will create a reality, or you will help the person to be okay with the tension, or you yourself will be okay with the tension. So it all goes back to what you believe. What you believe is what you see. So somebody can have a very aggressive divorce and feel like it was for the good, and not feel that it was against the person, and totally feel like this is what was needed. The other person needed that for their own growth, for their own opportunity. You don't know what it does. While other people might feel, no, this is an either or situation. You're hurting the other, and therefore you have to do something else. So it all comes back to what you think and your perception of reality and relationship and your role in them.
Excellent. I had wanted to ask, again, I was going to ask you, so you kind of answered what I was, but you know, the good Dr. Joseph has mentioned yin and yang, and typically yin and yang are two sides of one coin, and you know, as illustrated. So there may be failure and success or winning at the same time. How do you help a person, when you talk mindset, move from that feeling sucked down, whether the person breaking up or the person being broken up with, to move from that failure into success by realizing that both are part of one thing?
This is such a great question, Rex. The first thing is awareness. Can you become aware of your perspective? So the first step, become aware how you're taking it. What are you doing with it? So the first step, awareness. The second step, somebody needs to introduce to you that this is a perspective. That is one side of the coin. Somebody needs to make you aware that you're taking one side and why not another side. Like with my patient, that's often what I do. I bring them awareness to what they're thinking, what they're doing, and I show them, I'm so curious you're taking this perspective because I could think about this other perspective. And so you bring them on the other side, and then you say, if you've chosen that other perspective, it must have some benefits. We all choose something because we believe it's good for us. Even if it has detrimental consequences, it's meant for our own good on an unconscious level. So it's about understanding what is that benefit, and can you achieve that benefit differently, so that then that person can drop that mindset and embody another mindset. So I hope I was helpful in my answer.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And I want to now move a little past, you know, this conversation about breakups. I think it's very, very important because they do happen every day. But then there's usually life before and life after breakups, okay? If there even is a breakup. But when we're looking at it that way, the life after the life before, I know Dr. Joseph talks about the divine path, the spiritual path, Dr. Jasmine as well. So that's why, because I know you two do, I would love to start with Miss Davison here, okay? How do you win after this? Like, how do you create a life before, after? Maybe you didn't even know there was going to be a divorce or a relationship. So at the essence of life, how do you believe we can win, we can move forward, spiritual, personal development? What are your thoughts on just creating your life?
Gosh, it's a great question, and so many different things I could say on it. I mean, I believe to be, truly fulfilled, then it's about embracing every part of you and really going on a journey of self-discovery to work out who you are, what makes you tick, what lights you up. I'm a big believer that we all have a light, and some of us, that light's been dulled over time. And it's about consciously being aware of our behaviors and our reactions, and looking into, why do I react like that in certain situations? Why am I so resistant to those ideas? To challenging yourself and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you can start to shine your light brightly. And being, like I said, free to express yourself, free to be the best you, free to do and enjoy life. And I think a lot of us worry a lot about what other people think, what we should do, social media these days, comparing ourselves to everybody else's best foot forward on social media, and that can be really damaging. And I think it's really about disconnecting from some of those things. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons we've all learned during the pandemic is, what's really important to us. And on my podcast, Heartbreak to Happiness, I always ask people at the end, all my guests, and I'd love to invite you guys all to be my guests, by the way. I'll be contacting you afterwards. But I always ask the question, what is happiness for you? Because I think it's really important to recognize what that is and be in touch with that. So even when times are a little bit challenging and tough, that you can tap into that along the way, but you've got to identify it and know it beforehand. So those little things I think are super, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I would like to ask Dr. Joseph, there are a lot of breakups in life, not just between people in relationships. People get divorced from their job, or they quit their job, or they give up a habit, or their car dies on them. I mean, there's lots of times when we're disappointed that things aren't going the way we hoped they would go, and they aren't long lasting. We just heard the term happiness come up. How do we live happily in spite of these upsets in our life and move forward through what we might call breakup moments, when they deal with not just personal relationships, but professional relationships and other things?
I was so set up for that before, during, and after relationship thing. Okay.
Oh, well.
I love the surprise.
Can I go with that flow and then kind of blossom into what you're asking?
You're welcome to do however you choose, sir.
Okay, because I think that this is what I'm about to speak about is a universal truth anyway, whether it is a job or something else.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an old saying, in life, it is best to not be in a serious relationship out of loneliness, but rather out of readiness. And therefore, in doing my own psychospiritual path work, I was very ready for my first marriage, which got divorced, by the way, by me. But basically, my biggest mistake there was I made a lot of excuses despite already knowing her difficulties, and I knew I was taking a chance. But I'm a man who lives by his word, so I said, I'm going to marry you, and I stuck by my word, and I married her without question. The thing is that, but there's also, as Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true. So therefore, in my mindfulness, I knew during the marriage I was being a very good husband to my first wife. I was very good to her. And I think she knew that too. But there came a point where she didn't want to change, or she didn't want to grow. She didn't want to go to therapy, etc., etc. And she pretty much told me straight out that this is just the way it's going to be, whether you like it or not. And we always talked about 50 years, but guess what? I don't want to be miserable for the next 50 years. So therefore, even the very last day she and I were together, I was bawling my eyes out, crying, even though I wanted, I should say, I didn't want the divorce. I needed the divorce, not wanted it. And I made that very clear to her because I'm not going to live in misery. She doesn't want to go to therapy and work this out. And so I'm bawling my eyes out, and she's basically not wanting to see my tears. And she had absolutely no tears at all. Because again, this is just the way it's going to be, whether you like it or not, and too bad, right? Okay. Well, but I'm going to be true to myself and not live in misery and just move forward. So that was a blessing leaving that marriage, because then I met my wife now, and I'm extremely happily married, because there was a psycho-spiritual connection that my wife and I have since the beginning, and she really has actually done her work. I can tell daily. She's very mindful, she's very conscious, she's extremely loving to me, and I her as well. We are soulmates. So I'm very happy that I got divorced, or else I wouldn't have met my current wife, which is an angel, and hopefully I am too. Okay, well, at least we feel that every day, and so I'm very happy. Using the word happiness, I'm very happy in my marriage, and so is my beloved wife. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Amen. Now, how does this blossom into some other areas you were talking about, Rex, Stephen, right? Okay. Well, again, it's that universal principle happening of mindfulness, the presence. When we're dealing with our fellow coworkers, let's say, we need to be very mindful of their feelings, that it's not just all about us, it's about them as well, just like being in a marriage. You see, having relationships at work are like a marriage in and of itself, because we spend half of our time at our job. So again, we need to be sensitive, because when we're not sensitive, that breeds anger. When we're sensitive about other people's feelings, putting ourselves in their shoes, thus it's the yin yang again. I am you, you are me, for the benefit of the we, the us, the happiness, the winning on all sides. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new Psychology of Winning tour with Denis Waitley and special guests, and you're watching a thought leadership panel. We're wrapping up. We got about 10 minutes, 15 minutes left for this panel before we go to the next group of global thought leaders, but we're going to give each three of you the full floor to share your closing thoughts that you want to share with our audience, and what you want to leave with, the final message you want to leave this global community with. Let's start with Dr. Yasmine. Closing thoughts, about 2 to 3 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mo. So my closing thoughts is something we actually have not talked about, which is I believe to win, you have to be able to transform the negative, because we're all confronted with difficult life situation, difficult emotion, difficult thoughts. And how we transform them is essential in our ability to move forward in our life and fulfill our life purpose. So I would want to offer people a simple way to transform, which is connecting them to who they are, that your thought, your emotion, and your life event are all a reflection of something within, translated by your mind. So what I mean by that is, if you have a negative thought, it is a translation into a negative of something within. If something happened in your life, it's to help you grow something internally so that you can move forward. So it's this ability to see things always for you that helps you transform the negative. And that ability, I believe, is crucial to winning. So I'm Dr. Yasmine, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Yasmine. And Michelle Wilson says, amazing panel of thought leaders. I wholeheartedly agree. Let's give the closing floor to Dr. Lancaster. Dr. Lancaster, the floor is yours. Closing statement.
As the old saying goes, life is but a dream. Again, it's a mirror there to help you to be conscious. So we need to do our shadow work, as Carl Jung said. When you see that dark figure in your dream of whatever sort, it's really a reflection of that part of your nature. So stay there. talk with it, dialogue, assimilate it. You need to put it in your mind's eye and, again, dialogue and assimilate it. Thus, you transform, as the other doctor was talking about, Dr. Yasmine, your lower nature into your higher nature. Greed, lust, pride, anger into truth, balance, compassion, peace. That's how you transform in a very organic, natural way, as the ancient Greeks once spoke about as well. And therefore, you become that winner, as we were talking about earlier, that wholeness, that holiness, that healthy holiness, instead of being fragmented. Please, to thine own self be true. Do yourself a favor. Be true to yourself in such a way. Trust yourself. Feel your inner essence in such a way to heal you. Make your nightmares into beautiful divine dreams, and thus those dreams will filter out into your daily life. If you're interested in this type of path work of self-discovery, please go to divinelifetherapy.com, which is the home of my Gnostic pneumatherapy approach of self-discovery to become whole and complete. Thank you very kindly. God bless you.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Adora,
Reminds me why Maleficent costumes are so powerful to wear, right? We can all integrate our shadow. Thank you so much. And Sarah, you have the floor now.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you, first of all, for listening, everyone, and for tuning in. This has been, fantastic to be part of this panel. My final thought is, I know life can be super tough at times, and it can throw you curveballs. It can be an absolute emotional roller coaster. But I want you to know that you control the remote control to your brain. Now, we all can, but we weren't given the manual when we were born, unfortunately. But just knowing that you can dial down the intensity of some of those negative emotions. Okay, so maybe you're going through a heartbreak, or maybe you're angry at someone right now, and you're stuck up at 10 out of 10 on that dial, like the most intense anger or upset. You have the choice to choose how you react. Now, just because someone is being unkind to you or doing things to you that are making you feel upset, doesn't mean that you have to stay in that upset. You can dial it down, and it is super simple. There are some really simple, easy things you can do, like making small changes. And please know that small changes over a period of time can lead up to some big leaps forward. And one of the most important things I think you can do is ask yourself better questions. So I know in this panel we've been talking about, why aren't I enough, or what's wrong with me? Those kind of questions. Shifting it to, what can I do right now to make this better for me? What's one small thing I can do right now to make this just a little bit better? That shift of focus will really give you the power and the momentum to start to move yourself forward. Build those self-reliance muscles that we really want to develop, so that you can start out and reclaim your life, redesign it just the way you want it. It's never too late to redesign your life and start living it to the full and start winning like this whole program has been about. So thank you so much for inviting me. Do check out my podcast, Heartbreak to Happiness, which is on iTunes and all other podcasts. If you want some tips, ideas, advice, on my website is saradavison.com. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Sara Davison, Dr. Lancaster, Dr. Yasmine, three global thought leaders who are truly making a lasting impact, and they are all about what this program and this tour is all about: winning, but winning in a holistic 360 way. Internal winning first, external winning second. And with that, I want to thank the three of you, and we will see you next time. Appreciate you, Sara, Dr. Yasmine, and Dr. Lancaster. And let's do a quick recap, because that was an incredible panel with three remarkable thought leaders. So Rex, Natalie, Adora, let's do a quick recap before we start our next panel that's going to begin within the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. How do you guys feel about that panel? What are some main takeaways, please?
Adora, you want to start? This is just
first, I think we need to move. Like this.
I know.
There's so much energy happening. Like, we are literally sitting in spaces where we're letting go of false identities, taking on new vibrational things at a higher level. And so that gets like energy in the body, and it makes me so happy. I love the conversation of the internal marriage, that there's an internal marriage of the feminine and masculine, or however you want to word it, but it's so true. We're taught many years by Disney. They're changing their script now, but hey, look for Mr. Prince Charming, and the, happily ever after is that I do, right? And the truth is, that's not the truth, right? That it's really this harmony inside, and what we're looking for is inside. And I loved the gracious way of how you leave a relationship, how you recover, how you navigate all of that and find yourself again. I loved the inner mirror talk, and all of it. I mean, just what a great panel of thought leaders. I'm complete. Clubhouse bingo.
Everybody's like doing that thing. It's like, whoa, I'm complete. Hold on. Well, but that reminds me, Laura also just said that, I think it was really, really important, that myth that you just mentioned, Adora, but what all three of these amazing, insightful authorities also mentioned was, of course, I complete me. And I'm quoting Laura Cobb here, but it is one of those things, that we all sort of know. And it's funny because we talk about this, right? It is nice to have a relationship, but I think all three of them were pointing out, if you don't have a relationship with you, how is anything else supposed to work? And that work, that inner work, and I'm going to push the word work until I can.
Work. If less can sing.
But that's how we win, right? We win ourselves back. And I loved how all of them were pretty much saying that in all their different ways. And I think, not to be too dramatic, but the fact that Sara Davison talking about divorce, which is number 2 on the list of trauma, was so eloquent in how she also tells us, well, it really is about then staying together a little longer and making it an easy transition. And that's what we do to ourselves too. I mean, when we do the work, I don't think we have to be dramatic about it. We can do it one step at a time. But I know, I can see in Rex's face, he wants to say something.
No. I was very much intently listening to what you were saying.
No, I'm complete.
But I'll take that opportunity. All three of them, in their different ways, their different words, their different descriptions of how they work or what they do or how people change or grow or benefit, use the word awareness, essentially, and becoming aware. Whether they said this or not, my takeaway from it, or my way of thinking about it, is there is nobody but you. The other person is a reflection of you. They're the yin yang, as Dr. Joseph had mentioned. So if you treat them poorly, you're treating yourself poorly. If you're treating yourself poorly, you're treating others poorly. So it's about love, and it's about how do you love yourself so much that it overflows into everyone else around you, whether it's a coworker or an intimate relationship or a family member, or maybe the person that you meet at the coffee shop. We have within us the capacity to love more and to be open more and to allow more. And as we do that for ourselves, the relationships that we have, and some of them are fraught with difficulty, but those are those moments where it's opportune for us to learn to live, to grow, and to extend ourselves to each other.
Yeah, I love that. I want to add to that because I think whenever we go out looking to have the Jerry Maguire, hey, you complete me, we end up holding signs that say that we become, you deplete me. Not because when you're looking for someone to complete me, you end up being so grabby and like, hey, complete me. And
like
that's
I'm an
actually
empty cup.
right.
I'm an empty cup. Come fill me up, because otherwise I'm here by myself.
Completer. Right, and that's actually quite depleting, and that's not who we are here. Obviously, we are people that believe in full ownership and co-creation of reality, and I love so much Moe is back to complete our
Well, you know what, Adora, what I will tell you, Adora, is that you know what, you had me at hello, and so let's